VoyMonk video voice vlog. Man, sometimes when I do vlogs, I get to a point, I don't, like I said, I don't edit these. I don't really have these scripted or anything like that. I know what I want to talk about at times and I hit the button, but I don't know exactly sometimes where I'm going. And you can probably tell that. But I do have this propensity to try to say everything and fit things in. And at the same time, going by the guidelines of what I'll do. I'm not trying to be too stringent, but, I try to have at least, some kind of structure, not some kind of structure, but a structure. And so, yeah. But the thing is that part of the propensity for saying everything that needs to be said, or I feel needs to be said, sometimes, as I'm doing this for myself, but also creating content that other people consume, I think it behooves to leave space for others because I don't have all the answers. I'm certainly not pontificating. That's part of that as well, is that, I don't know. But I was talking about news this week, and specifically yesterday I was talking about interviews, and I was kind of touching and broaching the subject of, I used examples Wendy Williams and Sherry Shepherd, where they basically do the same kind of entertainment and platform and format, I should say, but they take entirely different approaches, neither which I'm specifically a fan of at all, but I think they can either be seen as negative or, fluffy and overly, positive and sometimes diluted, but, they are what they are, and I don't take that altogether serious, but I try to use that as an example in a lighthearted way to kind of cross that comparison as far as the contrast or even some of the similarities with news, journalism, with reporting. Meaning it doesn't necessarily mean it has to be nasty. It doesn't mean that it has to be contentious or rude. But at the same time, there's something to be said for, throwing away, ceremony or, perspectives of, politeness, to the point of, making me compromising what, needs, at least for me in content and news, more important than the production or the way things look or seem. Sometimes telling people uncomfortable truths is just the way it has to be. Sometimes dealing with questions that people don't want to ask and don't want to answer, but they should be answered. If a question is asked, I think for most, engaging adults that probably care more about news, where, I think when I was younger, I didn't, but engaging adults can handle, or they can't, or they really do want to know. Rather than being manipulated, just sometimes be honest. Tell the truth. And I know that gets thrown around a lot. I mean, the truth. Yeah, but it's more than just the truth. It's like I was talking before about, recalls as far as food and that. That's something that we need to know. Or when there are situations where people's health and, lives are being put in jeopardy because of policy or situations that have to do with systems of circumstances that we rely on. And, the wait and see, well, we'll find out. And, thank you for asking and answering a useless question. That's not helpful. And so when I began this week talking about what I mean as far as production over content and what the news has been in terms of its cookie cutter approach, where, one market seems exactly the same as another, except for the slight differentials between the newscasters and reporters that you may see, and, maybe the stories that happen to get covered to kind of tease you in or lure you, like the weather, to tune in to basically hear about anything and everything else. And I would say a particular note, the only thing I would say is a criticism that I don't really like is I don't think it's ever a good idea for news to sell you anything. And I've seen that happen a lot in a lot of these markets where it follows the form of what I've talked about as far as, franchise, production over content, news that's cookie cutter, and basically, less substance and more perception and manipulation and marketing. So, like I said, not meant to be news, and not meant to be news, not meant to be news, and not meant to be negative. But those are the things that I experience in life, because I think news is extremely important, and I think the lack thereof it definitely has its effect, and I think it's something that we can feel and know, and we can see. And I do believe in journalism. I do believe that it's important, and it's one of those things I feel that is part of the safeguards. It's a part of the social contract, the social thing that we have that definitely helps our freedoms and is better than not. I'll wrap this up tomorrow a little bit. Like I said, try not to make this sound like a show, but like I said, trying to stay the positive, but making this, making the points that I'm making at the same time. But that's going to do it for this video voice vlog. Until next time, take care.